Hello Stratters, Nick here playing Abzan Midrange in Modern. We're on the draw, and this hand isn't the best, but I think it's a hand that we have to go ahead and keep. I would switch any of these lands out for a threat, and I would be much happier with the way that things are. So I'll just play out a land. Basically, we just want to fetch so that we have the mana for Lilianna of the Veil on turn 3. Hopefully we draw a 2-drop threat on our draw step, or maybe a discard spell. Not the best. So this hand just has presumably the opponent's on like blue-white control. We just have 3 removal spells in our hand. If this Lilianna doesn't resolve or we don't draw any threats, we're going to have a difficult time. It may even be that we want to wait until we draw a discard spell. Oh no. So now we don't have double black, so it might be worthwhile to just Maelstrom Pulse this Spreading Seas. That puts us down a card, but fixes our mana. I don't know. I think I just might play this Overgrown Tomb tapped, and then if the opponent plays another Spreading Seas, we can get 2, so then it's like a 1 for 2ing ourselves instead of 2 for 1ing ourselves? Or how would that be? So the Spreading Seas replaces itself. If I just Maelstrom Pulse a Spreading Seas, it's basically 2 for 1ing myself, because the Spreading Seas drew a card, whereas sure, that's fine. That also might have been a poor play. It might have been better to try to double threaten a turn and play a Tarmogoyf on the turn where I can also play the Dark Confidant. Whoa, Port Town. That's not one I see very often in Modern. Okay. So the question is, if they have another mana leak, do I want to play Tarmogoyf, then play this land? Obviously, if I play Tarmogoyf, they mana leak, and I had the land in play, they just wouldn't have used the mana leak. I think Lilianna is the real prize here. This is the card that puts the most, cramp on what the opponent's doing. And we have all this extra, chaff in our hand that we just don't need. So I think I'm going to play Tarmogoyf without playing the land first. This would incentivize them to use another mana leak if they have it. Then I can play Verdant Fetch for a swamp and play Lilianna of the Veil. Okay. Nope. Will not pay because we cannot pay. Okay, so as long as this Lilianna resolves, this went according to plan. Because, like I said, Lilianna's the real prize here. And the thing is, what I was saying with the land, I mean, you saw it happen. If I had played my fetch land, played Tarmogoyf, they probably wouldn't have mana leaked because I just would have been able to pay for it. But since I didn't play the land, played the Tarmogoyf, they mana leaked, I'm able to play my land and then land this Lilianna of the Veil. I think I want to discard a path, just since I have redundancy there. although we are running out of, we don't really need our 6th land, probably. The opponent ditches a land. I guess the one issue here is that if the opponent has an untapped land, they will be able to activate Colonnade and eat the Lilianna. Are they going for it? They are. So I guess we knew that this was a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like that was probably the best use of our turn. If the opponent didn't have an untapped land, then that wasn't going to happen. Go ahead and cast an Inquisition. So I want to save one of these removal spells to pair with a threat. And so we can go ahead and fire one off now and wait for another one when we have a threat that we want to... Okay, pathing their own Wall of Omens. I wonder what that indicates. Just nothing in hand. Okay, so they are out of gas, just a little bit flooded. I'll be curious to see if they start just attacking with a colonnade or not. We draw a land. I'm going to save this land in hand in case we draw a Tireless Tracker. And this is the point in the game where if they draw like a Sphinx's Revelation, we are just absolutely toast. But if we draw like a Lingering Souls or a Tireless Tracker, we've got a decent chance. Are they going for the Colonnade attack? Looks like it. Typically you want to take care of Colonnades before they actually are declared as an attacker. In case they want to burn a counter spell to save them, they have to tap the Colonnade. You can't attack with it. Colonnade's fallen off a little bit of favor. When I first started playing Modern, that was like one of the tricks to know, but there's a little bit less Colonnade than there used to be, so I'm not sure if that's something everybody's keen on these days. Alright. That's annoying. They went from flooded to having like 2 pretty gassy hands, or cards in hand. I think I'll take Snapcaster Mage since that card's inherently a 2-for-1. And then I'll play this Dark Confidant if they want to trade it for a Wrath. I mean, it's whatever, obviously. Not the best for me, but I think this is the kind of card that you would consider using your 4-mana removal spell that can potentially get multiple creatures just to get one creature because it has the ability to potentially draw you some cards. Alright. And I don't know. I mean, we've both got draws that can, I think, kind of crack the game wide open, so it's just a matter of who gets them first. Fatal Push is not one of those draws. I would really like a Lingering Souls. Probably the most of all. Oh god, is this a Revelation? That would be unbeatable. Of course. Okay, so rep for 7. At this point, I'm just going to play until I see a win condition come on the table. Just want to see if they're doing Secure the Waste or Elspeth, Sun's Champion, or what they've got going on. From what we saw thus far, it was just Colonnades and Snapcaster Mages, but I don't think that's quite enough to get them through. I'm sure that's fine. So going back to what I said earlier, so if I just Maelstrom Pulse a Spreading Seas, I'm 2 for 1ing myself, but if I Maelstrom Pulse these, is that, I think that's card neutral if you Maelstrom Pulse 2 Spreading Seas. So I would spend 1 card on 2 cards that replaced themselves. Is that right? I'm probably going in too much minutia on something that doesn't really matter that much, but at some point it probably is worthwhile to Spreading Seas, or to Maelstrom Pulse a bunch of Spreading Seas. Is it 3 of them? Maybe, although there's a Jace Architect of Thought on the battlefield right now. Kind of makes me want to Maelstrom Pulse that instead. Although I don't know how I'm possibly getting out of this game. Like, Jace shuts down Lingering Souls, which would be one of my better draws at this point. So play Dark Confidant. And Maelstrom Pulse this Jace. And I know I could play land to play around Mana Leak, but the opponent already resolved a Sphinx's Revelation. If I draw a Tireless Tracker, I want that tracker to draw me 2 cards. And that's the 3rd Mana Leak they've gone through. Path my Dark Confidant, so I'll just get the land from it. And I think I'm actually all out of fetchable lands at this point. So for sure want to not play this Marsh Flats. Battlefield's getting huge. Close out of these. Sure, so you can have 2 paths or a detention sphere. So we'll let the opponent do a little bit more. I guess Gideon is sort of a win condition, but not really so much against us. This is the one Gideon that it just prevents damage to it. It's not indestructible. Though I guess we have a Fatal Push, so it's not like we can use that, but we can use a Path to Exile. I mean, as things sit, like, the opponent doesn't actually have a way to kill us. I'll put Spreading Seas by itself. It's probably the most annoying. It can cut us off of certain colors. So think we're pretty much just about dead here. I'm going to go ahead and assume the CMC of a Gideon is still 5, right? Guess I'll path it. Really glad the opponent did not take the pile with the Spreading Seas in it, because they could have Spreading Seas my only remaining white source. Sure, Cryptic Command. It's fine. More Serum Visions. I would be surprised if their only win condition in the deck was, you know, Colonnade, Gideon, and Snapcaster Mage, but that might just be good enough. So go ahead and play that. I wonder if they're going to animate Colonnade. Oh, they're going for the two-turn clock with Gideon. Tracker is a decent draw, I think. Granted, it probably won't resolve, and if it resolves, it probably won't live. But we can try. Get Clue. Pretty sure I don't have any more fetchable lands in the deck, right? 2 Swamps, Temple Garden, 2 Overgrown Tomb. Yeah, I don't. Sorry. Just verify that the CMC of a Gideon is in fact 5. Well, opponent's countering it, so maybe it's not. I don't know. Still countering it. Let's draw a card. Alright. I'm pretty sure that these Fatal Pushes don't even do anything to a Gideon. I think its CMC is still 5, which would mean that it can't be destroyed even when Revolt is on. But I do not know that for certain. Alright, so we can cut down on paths, down on pushes, for sure. I can maybe trim some discard. That doesn't seem quite good. For sure want these Sphinxes, just a nice sticky threat. Blood Baron I want, since only Wrath can target it, not Path to Exile. Is it worthwhile to bring in Grafdigger's Cage, which shuts off flashback from our Lingering Souls, but also shuts off Snapcaster Mage? I'm not 100% sure about that. Collective Brutality, just a nice discard spell. So I think options would be Collective Brutality or Engineered Explosives. We could also maybe even go a little bit further down on removal. So I want to have Path because we saw Gideon, and Path is a spell that can take care of a Gideon, but also Fatal Push can handle some of those random creatures that you encounter, but also with the Snapcasters and the Wall of Omens, but it can also handle like a Colonnade. Granted, Path can just kind of handle everything, so maybe I should go all paths and no pushes. But giving them a land sometimes sucks. You know, if I play like a Dark Confidant or Scavenging Ooze on turn 2 and they play Wall of Omens, and then I can't really attack through it because I have a 2-powered creature. I would rather path or push the wall and start attacking rather than path the wall and start attacking. And then Engineered Explosives, if they do have Elspeth, this can clear out the tokens at least. Pulse the Elspeth and use this on the tokens. It's also just a nice flexible answer against the detention spheres and whatnot. I don't think I necessarily want it. It might just be too mana efficient and too narrow. I'll go ahead and submit this. So I want to see. So this is a more threat dense hand, but a little slower, and we also don't have quite the mana that we're looking for. It's better to mulligan. If this were a green source, it would be a very easy keep, but since it's not, I'm not 100% sure about this. We also have, I think I'm just going to mulligan. I've thought about it a little bit too long. This is also not a tremendous hand by any means, but if we draw lands, they don't even necessarily have to be any certain color of lands. We'll be fine, so I'll keep that on top. So we'll play this Verdant, but we can't really cast anything turn 1 because we want to draw the card that we scryed into. And then on turn 2, do I want to lead with Inquisition, or do I want to immediately cast a Scavenging Ooze? I think it's fine to lead with Inquisition, particularly because Spreading Seas could be annoying. So I don't want to use my fetch land, get Spreading Seas, and then kind of be out of it. Gideon of the Trials. Basically every time I've encountered this card, it's been really annoying. So I'm inclined to just get rid of that. Especially they have a Gideon Jura. So I'm going to get rid of this Gideon of the Trials. And again, I don't think I'm going to fetch because I really want to draw a land and I don't want to thin one from the deck. And I'm also not 100% sure what color land I want to get. So I'll just leave it uncracked in play here, take a draw step, and then decide. Dark Confidant. So the opponent didn't really have a good answer in hand to this. Makes me inclined to play it. Since the opponent could have Spreading Seas, and I don't have any white cards in hand, I am just going to get another Overgrown Tomb, so that if I do get Spreading Seas, will preserve that I have both at least one white or one black and one green mana, even though I don't have any white mana and I could have fetched a Godless Shrine or Temple Garden there. I think it's just better to, with the hand that I have, and yeah, so again, if I had fetched a Godless Shrine or a Temple Garden there, my opponent could have gotten me off of one color of mana, whereas if I go ahead and fetch the Overgrown Tomb, it doesn't give the opponent that option, and I will have at least one black and at least one green mana to work with here. And opponent decided to path now, which makes sense because I would have been able to tap. Okay, so I know the opponent has in hand a Gideon Jura, a Cryptic Command. So I think it's fine to get rid of this Inquisition of Kozilek, given the contents of their hand. I know that a lot of the cards that I could potentially see with a discard spell are cards that I can't take with Inquisition of Kozilek. Lilianna looking much better this game than it did that previous game when it just got attacked by the Colonnade right away. So what is this? Okay, so Gideon of the Trials. They emblemed immediately. So that feels like setting up for well, so this Gideon becomes a 4/4 attacker. So this Lilianna needs to go up. One of the plays I was considering was ticking up Lilianna, then ticking up a new Lilianna. But that seems particularly bad since the new Lilianna would be on 4 against this Gideon. Creatures in the yard. So Ooze is a little bit weak. I'm going to play Tireless Tracker here. And then I think since I have Ooze redundancy, I'm going to discard the Ooze, and particularly Liliana's just a good card against the opponent. So the opponent still has Gideon Cryptic in hand. So they don't have a 5th land unless they draw one. Sorry. Thought I had a notification. Try to always turn off my notifications before I record, but occasionally I'll get like pop-ups in the corner here. Like, yo, somebody wants to talk to you. It can be sometimes annoying when I'm recording a video and somebody's like, hey, did you see the spoiler card? And I'm like, yes, I did see that spoiler card. Can we talk about it in a second? I wonder what the opponent is thinking here. I think they have a pretty easy attack, just plussing Gideon, attacking Liliana. I'm probably not gonna... Huh, interesting. I wonder why they would do that, because I am almost certainly not going to block, Tireless Tracker on Gideon to save 4 points of loyalty from my Lilianna. It's a possibility that I would maybe do that if I were going to... Right, this is only a 4-power Gideon. Yeah. If this were going to actually kill the Lilianna, I might do it. It could also just be that they wanted to have the opportunity to draw a land. That was a nice draw. That was a very solid draw. Since that is a lot of chump blockers, if I discard it. So options here, yeah. So I'm going to discard this Lingering Souls and then cast it. That is really nice. Yeah, I don't think that really competes with playing out Tireless Tracker again. Okay. They discarded this Gideon Jura, so we don't really know any of the contents of their hand anymore since they fired off the Cryptic and discarded the Gideon. What is this, a Wrath? Detention Sphere. So I wonder if they Detention Sphere the spirits and then attack the Lilianna, or if they... Okay, I guess that makes a bit of sense. These are some permanents that make me wish I was still playing some number of Abrupt Decay. But Abrupt Decay and Push are so similar, it makes it hard to do both of them in the same deck. Play this, and then when do I want to... Or are they going to let me... Yeah. So I think the opponent has a path. The way that they pause with that stack, with the trigger on the stack, it makes me think that they might have a path. And so I'm going to kind of play this game of chicken here where I'm not going to crack my Marsh Flats to get another land, and they're probably not going to path my creature until I... See, so if I was the one that fetched and they were the one that pathed, then the land wouldn't enter play, whereas if we do it this other way, I end up with a clue. So this, I guess, ended up favorably for me, although the fact that the opponent was willing to do it is a little bit troubling. So I only have one creature in the yard. I don't have any. So the idea is whether I want to get another green source here or not. For sure want to get a white source. So I guess we're just going to get a Temple Garden. And no real reason to pay the life. Okay. And I guess I can get another swamp here, so this all works out. So now we're protected from Spreading Seas, throwing us off a double black, but we also have a second green source to start oozing, and a white source in case we draw a white spell. So this, I think, is alright. Okay. Confidant is an interesting one. So I think I'm going to play Dark Confidant to play around Mana Leak, and then maybe crack a clue to try to hit a land drop. I don't want to commit another creature to play around a Supreme Verdict, and I don't want to get this Lilianna of the Veil Mana Leaked, so I think that this is the best option, just to crack a clue, try to hit a land. Okay, and then Kitchen Finks is a creature that I wouldn't mind the most if it got Supreme Verdict, so that I could see myself committing to the board next turn. And it's also just a nice a sticky creature that can help keep this Gideon of the Trials in check. Gideon of the Trials is a pretty powerful card for Modern, I would say. I've seen some of the decks that just play like several of this Gideon and like a couple of the other Gideons. And it's an interesting idea. I mean, that's kind of what this deck is doing. Okay, Wall of Omens. So that makes sense, since they can Wall can block the Dark Confidant. Okay, Path to Exile. That's a nice one. And a Verdant Catacombs. Okay, I'm going to play this Lilianna and make them sacrifice the Wall of Omens, perhaps? This is the negate. Yeah. Take this forest. Kitchen Finks has a draw. Now I might want to actually chump block with this Kitchen Finks. Going to 2 is a bit risky with Dark Confidant in play, and I don't know if that's a risk that I necessarily need to take. As long as Confidant is in play, I feel pretty good about my chances in this game. And we're doing alright with maintaining card advantage. Yeah, I think going to 2 is just a little bit too risky. It could be an issue if the opponent just plays like a Supreme Verdict right now. Okay, we dodged that. Alright, now the opponent is going to have a hard time. Yeah, so if we took 4, we would have died to our Lingering Souls. Let's attack this Gideon, maybe? Creatures at Gideon of the Trials. I think the opponent doesn't really have any removal in hand unless it's something like Condemn. Okay, and I kind of want to leave Path and Push up. So I can't really play Lingering Souls, because that would tap my white mana, and Path is my answer to Gideon. This is a tough one. I think maybe Scavenging Ooze is the card to commit to the board here. Also, again, a little risky. If we get Supreme Verdict, it could be an issue, but the opponent's kind of shown that they don't seem to have Supreme Verdict, at least in their hand currently. So we might be able to maneuver this. Wonder if they're gonna maybe like Baby Revelation here. Snapcaster Mage. Well, Snapcaster is fine because I have the Ooze to answer it. Probably should have done this in response to the Ooze. Or maybe they just want me to tap out a green mana and this is their way of getting it to happen. I don't know, or they might also want me to tap low enough that they can mana leak My removal spell. Well, the opponent is running out of time, which I don't always like to be the sorry sport that runs them down on time, but I mean, this game seems pretty even to me right now. I sort of have the board advantage, but they have this Gideon, which is a really problematic card. So while I kind of have quantity, they sort of have quality here. Not that you're not quality, Dark Confidant. Or you, Scavenging Ooze. Or you, Kitchen Finks. You're all aces in my book. So what is this? Like a Supreme Verdict? Firing up Colonnade, maybe? That would be aggressive. Jace, Architect of Thought. Sure. This wasn't the art that they had in the last game, so I think they have a couple. Put Rest in Peace on its own, I guess. Well, Path, probably. I mean, I have a Lingering Souls in hand, which is a little bit annoying for the Rest in Peace. Okay, so they took a Path, so that makes me think, whenever you split and give them one card versus two cards, and they take the one card, I think that is often, you can feel good about the split that you made. Yes, I would like my planes. Okay, and this is nice because now we're not crimped on white mana anymore. So if it gets to the point where... Ooh. Alright, so I feel like the game has started to swing. So I'll path the Gideon and push the Snapcaster Mage. I don't think I want to go any lower. I don't want another Lingering Souls off the top or anything like that to kill me. And I'll have a clear attacker to the Jace on my turn. Okay, so as long as my own Dark Confidant doesn't kill me, I think we'll maybe have this one. I need to cast a Lingering Souls this game to block Colonnade. Colonnade hitting me would be lethal right now. So, cast one Souls, and maybe crack a Clue, and then decide whether I want to flashback Souls or play Tarmogoyf. Guess Tarmogoyf is the faster clock. I just, again, right now the race is probably against Dark Confidant. The opponent can, tap out for Colonnade and force me to chump block, I guess. But really, it's all about Dark Confidant not killing me at this point. Greatness at any cost. And I might almost, in my opponent's perspective, prefer to have Colonnade on defense. I don't know. It's a close one. Don't kill me. Ah! Oh, and Collective Brutality was could have gained some life. Oh well, that was a close one, fun match. Give the opponent the GGs. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Gideon of the Trials is I don't know. That's a tough one to deal with. Opponent would have flooded out. Oh man, I would have killed for these lands on top of my library. Just take 0 from the Dark Confidant. Get a clue with the Tireless Tracker. Not often that you say that. Oh, I just want lands on top of my deck. I want to draw all the lands. I don't know. At this point, I mean, we had such a good board presence already. Well, I had fun with that one. Sometimes Bob doesn't give the best advice, but card advantage is card advantage. We'll take it even if it kills us sometimes. Stay tuned, Stratters.